Firstly, you're probably asking yourself why this video is in night vision, and to that I reply, well, we're having a bit of a power outage. There's no power at all. I don't know when it's going to come back on. But secondly, what better time than now to take advantage of and make a video of something. This is a Behringer Xenyx 802 mixer. This is not a USB mixer that hooks into your computer via a USB cable or anything of that nature. Previously, these mixers, when you got them new, when they first debuted with this particular model of mixer, they used a blindingly bright blue LED for the power indicator, and they actually don't do that anymore. It's changed now to an amber LED. It's much softer on the eyes. It's not nearly as bright as that blue LED that people actually had to devise workarounds to getting it to be a bit dimmer by opening up this unit. But it's a pretty simple mixer. You have a few different controls here. Although one complaint that I got this mixer a while ago, and I really wish now that I had gotten a slightly more expensive mixer that actually had real levels controls that you can push up and down like in a radio station, because using these knobs, while it does get the job done, it's not nearly as fluid when you're trying to control this. And instead of just fading them up and then fading one down, doing it two at a time, you can't do that. You have to do it one at a time unless you use both hands. Whereas with the regular level controls, you can just raise them and lower them if they're right next to each other using just the same hand. And this mixer has two XLR inputs as well as two 1/4 inch balanced or unbalanced 1/4 inch connectors, which you can plug an instrument to, or a microphone that doesn't use XLR connectors and uses 1/4 inch input. So whichever you use, that will be the one that's used for that input. You can't plug in a 1/4 inch microphone and an XLR microphone. It won't work. And then we have the gain controls here, so you can go ahead and adjust the gain accordingly for each microphone input. Now you have two line level inputs, or four if you count them as mono, but since I use this for music, I just have two line level inputs for stereo audio. So this is one line level input, this is a second line level input. Up here is an aux return, but you can also use that as a line level input, as I have, because it works the same. The volume control, the level of control for that though is just located over here and not down here. But other than that, it's pretty much the same. You have an FX send if you want to use this with some kind of an FX processor or something like that. It does not use two 1/4 inch jacks, it uses a single 1/4 inch stereo jack. And then over here is your headphone jack, which is a 1/4 inch stereo jack. I've used one of these adapters here just to use my modern headphones with. Over here we have the main output, which you can hook up to powered speakers or something like that. There are two 1/4 inch mono microphone jacks, two 1/4 inch balanced connectors for left and right audio, and then over on this side is something called the control room output, which is pretty much essentially like having an extension of your headphones, whereas you can control the volume of your control room speakers using this control right over here. So looking over here, we have what Behringer calls a tape in and a tape out. This is another line level input, but you don't get any volume controls with this, so I don't use that because you can't fade it up or down. It's just set it and forget it. The volume is just line level, you can't adjust it. I do use the line level outputs as opposed to using the 1/4 inch outputs because they're RCA jacks, so I don't have to use one more adapter. And I've actually got these split. I'm just using a Y splitter here so I can split this off to my cassette deck and my audio processor. And this mixer does support phantom power, so if you use a condenser microphone or even a dynamic microphone that does require phantom power, this mixer can support it and can put out phantom power to both microphone jacks. There's your aux return control, your volume control. It actually has a little notch that locks into place at 0 dB, kind of convenient. We have a control here for 2-track to control room. That's just if you want to take this, the audio that's hooked into these two RCA jacks, and have them go out to your control room. I guess perhaps if you're trying to overdub something. And then over down here we have the 2-track to mix. So if you want to actually plug in something to these jacks and you don't hear any audio in your final output from this thing, you have to push this button to engage let the audio from this pass through to the main output. We have an amber indicator light, a 48 volt red LED, which lets us know when phantom power is on. And then we have a view meter here with 4 LEDs to indicate -20 dB, 0, and 6 dB operation, and also when you're clipping they will turn red. You have your main mix control. This controls the main output of this mixer. So whatever is feeding your device, let's say your computer, this is how you keep it from clipping or overmodulated. Right now, I have it set to 0 dB unity gain because my audio processor will take care of any transient peaks or anything like that. And over here we have the volume control for your headphones as well as your control room output, which I talked about a bit earlier. Coming on this site, once again, we have those level controls. Up here we have balance controls, so you can fade to the left or right. So if you have two microphones, you can pan one to the left and one to the right for stereo operation if you so desire. We also have an effects control here, which controls if you want to do some kind of a mix minus setup or something like that. You can just turn it up. So if you want it to pass through to the FX send output over here, you just turn it up to the desired level. And this has what Behringer is referring to as a British EQ. You have your high, mid, and low frequencies to adjust, and it comes in handy, especially for microphones. I like to just tweak the treble just a bit, as well as the bass. Makes for a nice sound. And then you can also adjust the high, mid, and low frequency sounds for your second microphone input and your two mainline level inputs. And it is a metal mixer. It's not flimsy plastic construction, although these knobs are plastic and pop right off, so you can clean this and wipe this down very easily. And it's a very simple mixer. You just have the DC input here. It comes with an AC to DC power brick, but one quick note is that I've actually noticed that the included power brick actually puts out a bit of RF interference and hum that gets picked up in these audio cables, even though they are shielded. So you might want to play around with the placement of your DC power brick for this unit to avoid and mitigate the amount of hum that makes its way into your audio chain. So overall, not a bad little mixer. I think they're selling for around $60 to $70 still, and you can pick them up used and even new, probably for cheaper if you know where to look.